So before we get into actually coloring the rocks, I had to figure out what colors I'm going to use and what is better than going right to the prototype. And of course, research. If you haven't had any research, I don't know how the heck you do it. I really don't. I mean, you can use your imagination, right? Anyway, okay, so when you're doing your research, all right, especially if I'm looking for rocks in Pennsylvania, I found 4 books on this shelf, and I actually put a sticky note on them, and I'm like, well, that looks pretty darn cool. So we have this book here. This is from the Pennsylvania Short Lines in Color, Volume 2 by Gary Carlson, and you can see here, okay, and I'm looking at this photo here, and I'm like, oh wow, that looks pretty cool. That's a nice rock cut out in Pennsylvania, and that is in, I saw it earlier, now I can't find it. How about that? Anyway, it's in Brookville, Pennsylvania. So I'm like, okay, well, that looks pretty cool, right? So we put that back here. So we have that book. Then I looked at another book on the Penn Central, and that's by Peter Lynch. And this is a fantastic book. If you love Penn Central, woo, this is a great book. Okay, and like the first few pages I'll go through, I'll go, oh my gosh. And so I saw that. And so you got this, right? And you got the nice rock formations here. And this is outside of Horseshoe Curve. This is going into Horseshoe Curve. So, or out, coming from Horseshoe Curve, excuse me. This is going westbound. So I'm like, okay, well, more brown and grays, and some look like burnt sienna and ochres on that color, right? I'm not seeing any slate gray. Now, I have used slate gray most of my life, and I'll be honest, it doesn't really look that realistic to me. Anyway, so we're going to continue with this here, and I got the Reading Diesels Volume 2, and this is the second generation, and this is by Dale Woodland. And I was like, well, let's go through this book and see what I can find. Oh my gosh, here's Pennsylvania, and this is off the Cuttawissa branch. I think that's how you say it. And Port Clinton, which is, I think it's in Pennsylvania. Anyway, but more more brownish rocks, right? So, okay. And I went through here, a bunch of other stuff. I didn't really find anything else here. Plus, most of these books are from more out west of New Jersey or New York into the Northeast. Well, lo and behold, this is a book called Trackside Scranton, Pennsylvania, 1952 to 1956. Edward Miller, by the way, by Chuck Youngkirth. I think that's how you say his last name. This book is awesome. And all these trackside books, totally recommend them. They can be rather pricey, but they are well worth it. Excuse me. And I'm looking here, I'm like, well, there's a mix of colors going on here. So you got some grays over here, but you got still some more browns going on here. And so, well, it looks like the brown and gray has won for this rock cut. And we're gonna go and practice first before we actually color the actual rock cut. Now, I went through a bunch of different colors. I have lots of Woodland Scenics liquid pigments. And I came up with using these 4 colors, and I'll show you in a minute. And so this is earth undercoat, yellow ochre, and we do have burnt umber and black. And the black is usually a wash that is used to make all the cracks and the rock molds bleed out. So I'm going to show you here what they actually look like, because I did go ahead and practice on another piece of rock mold to see if I like how it looks. So let's look at that. All right, so I went ahead and painted this rock mold, and we used different colors. I practiced here. So the right side is the burnt umber with a black wash over it, and then you have the yellow ochre in the middle, and that's a black wash over that. And I used the earth undercoat with a black wash over it. and actually blended together. It looks very, very cool. I may want a little darker, but I'm liking the earth undertone more for that kind of color, and I can always add a little more black to it. And actually the diluted black, now when it comes to diluting these pigments, I have really diluted them big time. I mean, probably like a few drops of the pigment to like maybe a quarter cup of water, I don't know, but it was a lot. It was very diluted. And so what it looks like some of the rock actually looks a little bit of that little gray in it. Now if I take this short line book and you put it up against the rock, it is very close, right? I mean, like, look at the grays and stuff in here with the black wash and the undertone and the yellow ochre. It matches up almost perfect. And so I think that's the color I'm going to use for this rock cut. All right, we're going to knock these out of the way. We don't need these right now, right? We're gonna go with the earth undercoat first. We got a little tray, a little container here, and yeah, that's all I'm using. That's all I'm gonna use for paint. So we're gonna add water to it. Now, if you look at the water, there's a lot of water in here, right? And maybe a little more than a quarter cup. I'm not sure, but we're gonna go ahead and start coloring the rock. And so I want to make sure all the paint on the bottom of this container is all mixed in. So swoosh it around a little bit. And we're going to work from the top down. We're going to do the leopard spotting technique. No, not that leopard. But we're going to use the leopard technique nonetheless. And this is something from an old Woodland Scenic video I saw. And it works really well. So we're going to get started here. And if it's too diluted, you can add a little more paint to it. It's not, or pigment. This is very light, very diluted as well. Oop. I think I'm gonna put a tree there. The kid's falling off. Okay, next we're gonna add a little bit of yellow ochre. Okay, so I'm now going to use burnt umber. I'm going to use this very sparingly, and it's just give some highlights on certain rocks here. And I'm looking to see where I want it. It gives a little nice dirt color. Alright, so before we go to that wash, I got a little bit of the stone gray pigment, and I'm going to use a little bit of that first. And this is what stone gray looks like. That's the stone gray pigment, and this is the kind of color here, right? So we're going to take a little bit of that. I'm going to brush over this a little bit here. Okay, so I kind of messed up on the wash here. I made it too dark. Too thick, the paint. See, what happens, it makes it really dark. And that's okay, because I'm going to go over it with the pigment. So I lightened up, really diluted it big time. And so we're going to start the process. You got to get it all into everything here. All right, so here you can see that I actually added a little more of that earth undercoat, a little thicker of a layer after it all dried. And then I went back and did a little bit of a thicker black wash over everything. So now you get a little bit of some grays, and now you got some highlights showing it in the rocks here, a little bit of white showing, which is fine. That shows some highlights in the rock. Also, gives the impression that we were going for, a little bit of that stone gray, but more of the earth tone color of the rock. And don't forget, a lot of this is going to be covered with shrubbery, so I'm not really worried about the color to be so perfect, because it's going to be covered a lot with the different kind of shrubbery and grass and all that stuff, vines. And then obviously over here it's going to be covered as well with trees all along here. You know, except for right here, this will be a little hobo camp, but this will be grass and trees coming up and down, all that. So yeah, next step is going to be weathering. And with weathering, we're going to be using certain powders, and that will give a little more of a highlight to the earth tone that we're looking for. All right, so you can see all the pigments have dried, and some is fairly lighter than others. When I put a darker wash, it dried fairly lighter than what I expected, and that's okay because we're going to go back here and we're going to use weathering powders. I mean, I do have a weathering business. That's kind of what I do, sort of. So yeah, might as well go into the weathering realm now, and I'm going to push these out of the way because we don't need those anymore. And then we're going to go and use some pan pastels, and I have a what do you call this stuff here? Well, it's Ames products, but it's Monroe Models, bought Ames, so it's Monroe Model powder. And as you can see here, I've been working on a this example here, just going through about maybe 20 different colors to see what will work. And I think I finally found 4 colors that will work for what I'm looking for as far as the color of the rock work. And we're gonna use just regular black. We got burnt sienna, and we got, I think this is burnt umber, raw. This is burnt sienna, sorry. Do this here, burnt sienna. And I think this is actually raw umber. And obviously the black, and then we're gonna use this medium earth tone. And we're gonna go through this, and as you can see here, I've been testing out certain spots, and we're gonna do a very light weathering. We're not gonna go too crazy with the weathering, just enough to get some highlights onto the rocks. All right, so I'm actually liking how this looks. There's a little more gray than the other color, and that's okay because I'm going to be adding a lot of the different ground cover stuff on here as well. So it's not going to be, this is just to highlight the rock, different shades. Then it's just those 3 unison colors. And I'm liking how this looks. This is my first time actually weathering rock ever, you know, so I'm sure I'll get better from here. This is the first time, and I'll be doing some more rock work on this layout, so it'll get better and better for sure. But I'm going to spray this with some dull coat here, and this is actually going to probably take some of that off. Okay, there we go. It may take some of the powders off, and that's okay because I'll give more of what's the color underneath the rock too. And don't forget, like I said, I'm going to be adding a lot more layers to this. This is just the like 1 layer, maybe the second layer of like maybe 10, you know. So just to give a look at, give you an idea what it's going to look like here. I got the track up there already, but let's see, we can do this here. I guess you don't want to go in. There you go. Now you do. Okay, so pretty much, I'm trying to get it up here. It's just getting stuck. I'm gonna have to cut that rock just a little more, but yeah, it's gonna be pretty much looking like this. That's what it's gonna look like. And I just spray painted this earlier, and next thing is gonna weather. I have to weather that all that wood on this little cold trestle here. So that's pretty much what it's gonna look like. Then all the trees and stuff, it's gonna look really, really nice. I really can't wait. But yeah, so on that note, guys, I really appreciate all the support on this diorama build, and stay tuned for more videos. We got a whole lot more parts to go. I got about another little diorama that I need to build on the other side to hold this trestle up. We're going to be doing rock carvings out of foam, and then we're going to be doing a lot of different kind of scenery videos for this diorama. So guys, stay tuned. Happy model railroading. Have a great weekend, and I will see you soon.